Recovery, recovery, recovery. How confident are you that your organization can recover quickly in the event of a ransomware attack? Do your teams know their roles and responsibilities? And are you certain that your organization has the proper resources in place to make that happen quickly and efficiently? Get ready to hear from some real customer stories from our support and services team as they share the good, the bad, and the ugly around ransomware recovery. Learn why some of these recoveries went well and some not so much. Take advantage of this up-close and personal interaction with the Commvault Support and Services Team, who've helped organizations around the world recover quickly so customers can maintain a great state of recovery readiness and a steady response. First off, we're going to hear from Jordan, one of our customer support reps, as he and the support team worked with one of our global customers on a longer-term ransomware recovery. Attackers infiltrated their systems globally, and all of their internal systems were disrupted. We're going to hear what challenges the customer faced and learn how Commvault ransomware protection helped in the recovery and how AirGap might have helped as well.
Hi Jordan, can you tell us a little bit about a recent customer experience that you've had with ransomware and its impact?
Hey Nate, yeah, no issues. So recently we had a global customer here who obviously had a global presence with data centers all over the world be impacted by ransomware and having all of their data crypto locked. Fortunately, it was only the internal data for the customer and not the data for their end customers that was impacted. But obviously it does cause a disruption to the business with the financial and payroll data being the most critical data they needed to recover immediately. So the good news at the end is the customer didn't have any data loss, but it was a long and pretty extensive engagement because the customer obviously was new to the recovery process after a ransomware event, and Commvault were able to help them with planning progress and essentially assisting with how to recover so that they have the most efficient way to bring everything up.
Okay, and what were some of the specific ways that Commvault helped the customer with that recovery?
Yeah, so fortunately here the customer had Commvault's ransomware protection enabled on their disk library in their US data center, which is their primary data, their largest site. Because of the ransomware protection on that Commvault had, it prevented their backup data at rest here from being impacted by the ransomware and the crypto lock. So they were able to recover a majority of their systems very quickly, especially the most critical systems in the US, very quickly just through the Commvault GUI. But we did need to help the customer here with recovery plan and talking to the key stakeholders in the company and guiding them through the process of how to recover the most efficiently and what to do in the event of the ransomware.
Okay, and what were some of the major challenges faced during this recovery effort?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the US data center, which is the largest one, weren't impacted for their disk libraries, so they were able to recover straight away because Commvault ransomware protection was enabled and it prevented that disk library from being impacted. However, they did have a challenge here in terms of their global data centers primarily used Google Cloud storage in public cloud. And unfortunately, the ransomware bad actors were able to access their secret key and access key, as that's how their libraries were set up, unfortunately, and log on and delete a lot of that Commvault backup data that was sitting there at rest. Another challenge here was, and also a big challenge here was the network bandwidth globally, because it's a global customer with many data centers around the world. They did also have nearby satellite sites that may have had limited bandwidth from that satellite site to the data center. So the recovery process here were quite slow because of network congestion and network limitations. But we were able to work with the customer and help them devise plans on how to recover most efficiently, recovering the most important data first, etc.
Okay, and are there any recommendations that you could provide that would potentially help this customer in the future?
Yeah, so one of the recommendations that they have already implemented was the purchase of Metallic Recovery Reserve. So that is a Commvault Metallic product here that essentially integrates cloud storage libraries into the Commvault licensing, avoiding that potential access and security issue of compromised secret key and access key. Some of the other recommendations they could potentially do in the future is potentially implementing Commvault Warn capabilities from a software perspective. So just in case if a bad actor were able to access their Commvault environment, in this case they weren't, but in the future, in case they do, the Warn features would essentially prevent the customer or the bad actors from actually deleting the jobs in Commvault, which would trigger a prune operation in the storage. But and additional to that, they can also implement cloud immutability on their cloud libraries, which will further protect their objects at rest from potentially being deleted by the bad actors from any future events potentially.
Got it. Well, lots of great information. Thank you so much, Jordan.
No issues. Have a good day, Nate.
Thanks, Jordan. And wow, coordinating with those key company stakeholders and for all those locations that had Commvault Complete Data Protection really helped during this recovery. As we learned, immutability is vital, along with easily adapting air gap from Metallic Recovery Reserve to help protect your backups. That air gap creates a disconnected network. It's designed to isolate and segment secondary or tertiary backup copies and make them inaccessible from the public portions of the environment. Our Commvault Support and Services team are recovery experts and have worked in many situations around the globe and have the experience that you may need one day. So next up, let's hear from another one of our customer support reps, Blaine, who will share some aspects of some of the very challenging recoveries and the pain points customers have experienced during a ransomware attack.
Commvault has the best in ransomware technology, but we've seen many situations where the customer could be better prepared. I remember one situation where the hacker had been in for 3 weeks and he planning for his big day, and he ended up infecting 3,000 servers, and the company had their production down, their sales down, everything was down. And it's where do you start? And the scale is half the challenge here as well. So they didn't know what priorities they needed for which business function. They had no disaster recovery plan. So it ended up being who shouted the loudest to who got their systems back. I remember the sales coming down one day and saying, well, the shop fronts, they're not working. So we start working on that and bringing those servers back. And then next day, the manufacturing leader's down and he says, well, I can't make any new items. The production's down. So then we pivot to that, and it's wasting time. The scale is the problem, and not having a plan hurts. And there isn't a magic button, one-click solution like you see in some other vendor demos. Every ransomware is different, and every company is different. It's a problem we see all too much. I remember being at one site where there was no plan again, and they used a whiteboard, a list of servers, complicated server names with zeros and ones and X's and codes for airports, and just a order of, is this a dependency? Does this database need this authentication? And I remember seeing somebody rub up by it and rubbing some servers off, and I just had my head in my hands like this. If better planning was done, this could be so much faster. I even remember one recovery where they didn't even know what volume sizes the servers they needed to build to recover to, which again slowed everything down. A documented, agreed disaster recovery plan, which has been tested, is absolutely gold when disaster strikes. If you take a disaster recovery plan, you add it with immutable copies, you put in a cloud copy of the ComServe database, and you've got a recipe for success if the worst happens. If the worst happens, well, Commvault Support, we're here to help you. We can help you get your Commvault infrastructure back, and then we can assist you and point you in the right direction for recovering your production servers.
Thanks, Blaine. You don't want to be in a standstill where your organization doesn't know which servers to bring online first. That can be an absolute catastrophe. You need a disaster recovery plan so that you know who is doing what and the process of your prioritization. When you have that DR plan, the key is to test, and then test again. Every recovery is going to be different. So have that documented recovery plan that all of your business units agree upon and make sure it's been tested. Again, immutable copies are so important. Make sure you have the option to back up to the cloud. Possibly adding air gap can really help save your backups. And of course, utilize the Security Health Assessment dashboard. That will provide you with advanced tools and unprecedented visibility into your data protection environment. Our next story is going to come from Vincent. Vincent works on our Metallic side, and he's going to share a recovery experience that was rather quick. With over 60 machines that were affected, and with the help of our customer support team, they got their business critical systems back online in 24 hours. Vincent?
Hello all, my name is Vincent and I'm Associate Manager of Metallic Support, and today I'm going to talk about how one of our customers was hit with a major ransomware attack and how Metallic was able to get their business critical systems up and running in under 24 hours and their non-critical systems up and running in under 72 hours. So within the first hour, we reached out to the customer to let them know that we were already on top of it and setting them up so that they can recover their systems as quickly as possible. During that phone call, they let us know that they were still assessing the damage and that they needed some time to come up with a list of the systems and to stop the spread of that ransomware. So after a little while, they gave us a call back to let us know that they were ready. They had a list of all of the systems. Turned out that they had been affected by 62 servers. So at that point, we jumped on a session with them and we started to make sure that all of their backups for those affected servers were disabled so that we didn't have any backups in a compromised state. And then we started to kick off all of the recoveries. They started with their 7 most business critical systems, and we stayed on the phone with them for the entire duration. By the 18-hour mark, they had over 50 systems recovered, with just 12 remaining. About 3 hours later, they were down to just 4 systems left to recover. So by Friday morning, when they came into the office, they were already up and operational. They just had 2 file servers left to go, which were non-critical, and those were recovered by the weekend. So this way, Monday morning they came in, everything was ready to go. Looking back on this, we can see what the customer did was actually the right thing. They used our product and our support services in the best manner possible, right? They used our alerting and reporting systems throughout the year to make sure that all of their backups were in good health so that if an event like this did happen, they were sure that they would be able to recover successfully. The customer also used support in the way that they're supposed to. They don't always have to call on the support because Metallic is intuitive and they don't need support to recover systems. But in an event like this, it helps because that allows us to scale up the resources for them and just make the recovery efforts much, much faster. So all in all, by calling support, we were able to give them a recovery plan, that warm, fuzzy feeling of being able to answer any questions, provide 24/7 assistance, and ease any worries that they had throughout the entire process. And it worked out in the best possible way that they could have hoped for, bringing the scary encounter to a positive ending, and we were very happy to help them.
Thanks, Vincent. It's great to know that our support team is available to help a customer feel more at ease when disaster strikes. Since our customer had Metallic deployed to protect their VMs and their physical servers on-prem, this helped for a quick recovery. Also, the customer used our alerting and reporting systems, so they were easily able to verify that all of their backups were running successful prior to the attack, so they knew that their backups were safe. And by the customer outreaching to our support team quickly, this unified effort helped for a quick recovery. You don't always need to reach out, but you have to know it's there when you need it. Thank you all for joining us today.